I have been using a KOBO instead of a Kindle for a couple months now, and I absolutely love this little guy.
KOBO, please make your way down to the center stage. You've officially taken over as the only device that I reach for.
My one true love.
KOBO Libra Colour.
KOBO Libra Colour.
KOBO.
KOBO Libra Colour, the all-in-one e-reader that lets you annotate, highlight, and read in color. Since 2025, I've seen a lot more people recommending the KOBO, reviewing the KOBO, specifically the KOBO Libra Colour, and I must say, I really enjoy reading on my KOBO. So let's jump straight in to a week of reading on my KOBO. Thea has 3 years left to live. All she's ever wanted was to become an esteemed warrior of Thesmer. The veil protecting the Midrealms from the Shadow Wraiths is cracking. The Midrealms are at threat of war. Becoming a legendary warsword may be Thea's dream, but in light of current events, she must wonder, is she prepared to test the fates? I have finished Blood and Steel, and I'm giving it a 4.5 stars. Overall, this was a really good romantasy. The romance started quickly. It was not a slow burn by any means. There was a travel montage, there was a training montage, there was heavy focus on fantasy soldier training. It was very addicting. I found myself not wanting to put this down, reading it until like midnight every night until I literally passed out. The writing style wasn't anything overly lyrical, overly descriptive, flowery, just like digestible and easy to read. There is a little bit of a found family trope, but it's not a super strong found family trope. Very fast paced, very addicting read, but very predictable, at least for me. I've read a lot of fantasy, I've read a lot of thrillers. Maybe I'm just more attuned to plots and how they will progress and what the plot twist will be. I found it very predictable, which did not make it any less enjoyable. Let me make that clear. I still rated it over 4 stars. Now, so with that, let's jump into the next book. Not everyone who is lost should be found. 22-year-old Olivia has been missing for 1 day and counting. She was last seen on CCTV entering a dead-end alley and not coming back out again. Julia, the detective heading up the search for Olivia, thinks she knows what to expect. A desperate family, a ticking clock, and long hours away from her husband and daughter. But in this twisty police procedural, she has no idea just how close to home this case is going to get. Because the criminal at the heart of the disappearance has something she never expected. His weapon isn't a gun or a knife. It's a secret. Her worst one. And her family's safety depends on one thing. Julia must not find out what happened to Olivia, and must frame somebody else for her murder. If you find her, you will lose everything. What would you do? Second book is done. I am giving this a 3.75. Just Another Missing Person by the same author that wrote Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which I have read and didn't really enjoy. I was a little nervous going into another one of her books, but Just Another Missing Person was considerably more aligned with my thriller interests, with my preferred type of thriller. I don't know. I really enjoyed how realistic the characters were. They felt very fleshed out. They felt very human. None of them were perfect. They all had flaws, but they weren't completely flawed. They still had redeeming personalities, redeeming characteristics, which I think is especially important in a thriller because everyone essentially is a suspect. You want everyone to kind of look guilty, but at the same time make it make sense why they're not guilty. I thought these were really good characters. There were so many plot twists in this book. So many. This book is so interconnected and complexly crafted that there's no way you could ever see all of it coming. None of the plot twists were like out of the blue. None of them didn't make sense. None of them were like evidence was hidden from the reader. As a reader, you do get every piece of evidence you would need to put it all together yourself. Props to you if you did, because it was crazy. It was crazy. The beginning of the book was very fast-paced, very straight into it, early on plot twists, really intriguing, really keeping me reading. But once we got to like the 70% point, I started falling off. I started losing motivation, losing my momentum to keep reading. So it was around the 80% point I actually picked it up on audio and read along in the ebook while listening to it on audio. It was too long. A thriller shouldn't be more than around 350 pages in my opinion. That being said, most of the book was very good. There was so many points where it could have wrapped up and been perfectly fine, but that's not what happened. So okay, there was a few moments there where there was like it was threatened that it wouldn't have a happy ending. It does. It has a happy ending. Did really appreciate that this was a thriller that didn't have side quests. And by that, I mean we didn't dive into the main character's like personal life. A lot of thrillers that I've read have like what I call side quests, where it's like they're either going through a divorce or marital problem. It's kind of like bops back and forth between like a character study of the main character and then the mystery, and it's like, no, I'm just here to read the mystery. I don't care about your personal life, okay? Thankfully, it just focused on the main plot, the main mystery, thriller aspect, and any personal things that happened during that was related directly to the mystery and the main plot. This was a multi-POV. I believe in the end we got 3 different points of views, which were all very important, and I really appreciated getting those different points of views, and they do all come together in the end. The organization and formatting of this book being split into parts chronologically and then into those multiple points of views was very well done. Very good. I really appreciated that. So that's that.
you're gone. Should've turned back hours ago. Out of our minds, I guess we're sleeping outside. You're still a good time, even in the cold. Get out the road, I told you. A car's coming, I stop you. You know I always got you. You know I always got you.
After breaking up with her boyfriend, Lou is left with nothing. Well, except for a 6-bedroom house that she can't afford. What can she do but turn the house into a refuge for the brokenhearted? And maybe the guests won't be the only ones to find peace and happiness at the Heartbreak Hotel. Maybe, just maybe, Lou will be able to as well. The last book I read was The Heartbreak Hotel. And I did not like this. I did DNF it at like the 55% point. I tried. I always try my hardest to get through books, and in any way I can. I actually ended up downloading the audiobook and reading some of it as an audiobook alongside reading on my KOBO, of course. It just really started to annoy me. I'm not gonna lie, this author sounds like she has potential. She's actually coming out with a new book this year that I am eager to read because I did enjoy her writing style. I did enjoy some of the quotes I got out of this book, but this just felt very underdeveloped. It didn't feel finished. It definitely felt like first book of a newer author, if you know what I mean. Hadn't really developed her craft enough at the time of writing this book. I don't actually have many thoughts, or well, notes, because I got to a point where I just stopped taking notes because I was just so hard set on finishing this book. I didn't want anything to stop me, like slow me down from finishing it, because I just wanted it to be over. At the very beginning, it was very endearing, very cute. The characters were all likable. It got to a point where it was just so cheesy, and there were just so many one-liners that were so cliche, and it just felt like a Hallmark romance where it just felt like every other. I don't want to call it unoriginal, because the premise of the plot was not unoriginal, and that's why I picked it up, because it sounded very unique, and I thought I would really enjoy it, but ended up just falling flat. I don't know, there wasn't a lot of depth. It kind of just started off in one way and then it just went a totally different way and just became like every other romance out there. I don't know how else to explain it. This is maybe my worst review ever. Don't want to say this book was awful and don't read it. I just think it was a bit underdeveloped, and maybe if she had written this now, as like after getting more practice writing, if she had written this now, I think it would have been better. Her characters just didn't feel like real people. They didn't feel like they had a lot of character depth or development or emotional depth to them. I don't know how else. I don't know how else to say that. That's all I got. I DNF'd this. I'm not giving it a rating. I think if I was forced to, I would probably rate it around 3 stars. But yeah, I don't think I can give it a fair rating because I did DNF it. So, love you all so much. Thank you for watching, all my beautiful, beautiful beings out there in the universe. You are amazing, you are loved, you are enough, and you're so brave. Please remember that and go off to have a fantastic day. Please at least find some time in your day for yourself if you can. And I will see you next week. Bye!